Welcome to Mark My Words, a show that searches for the fork in the road in life, the place where the turning point in the journey of entrepreneurship and life can be found. Let's meet each other at the crossroads on Mark My Words. This episode is sponsored by GrowX Labs. Let's be real, leading a business is lonely. When the big decisions land on your desk, who do you actually talk to? That's where GrowX Labs comes in. Their executive decision support gives founders and execs direct access to a strategic sounding board. Someone who's been in the trenches and knows how to cut through the noise. Whether it's team tension, high stakes moves, or just needing to talk it out, GrowX helps you move forward with clarity and confidence. Head to growxlabs.com/mark. That's GRWX labs.com/mark and book your discovery call. So if you've been listening to Mark My Words long enough, you'll probably have heard me talk a little bit about real estate. I feel like this could almost be the real estate entrepreneur show because there's so many entrepreneurs out there who are tied to real estate, and I have absolutely nothing against it, but I'm always afraid that if I have too many real estate experts and professionals on this show, I may run out of ideas. However, my guest today, Tina Larsson, has a really interesting story, and she is the co-founder, I should say, of the Folson group, and her story is unique because she, in her own words, organized a hostile takeover of her New York City apartment building's board of directors, fired the property manager, saved her neighbors $340,000, and it accidentally turned into a 12-year business. Certainly let Tina speak to this a lot more. I hate spoilers, but I feel like I'm giving so much away already. I know there's more to the story than that, but yeah, she has language in her text like hostile takeover and oh yeah, leading to a board coup. So uh New York, she is Tina Larsson, co-founder of the Folson Group, New York's go-to consultancy for co-op and condo board governance. She spent 20 years on Wall Street as an analyst, which I also can't wait to hear about, before she discovered the aforementioned financial drain in her building, leading to a board coup to fix it, and realizing thousands of others in New York face the same problem. I just wanted to read that so that I could remember. But words like coup and hostile takeover are not normally words or language that I get to hear or talk about on Mark My Words. But Tina, welcome to Mark My Words. I'm Mark Schmidt, the host, by the way. Welcome to Mark My Words. How you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much, Mark, for having me on Mark My Words.
Well, it's great to have you here, and I knew that I was in for a great episode just from us connecting on LinkedIn this morning. I was like, oh man, Tina, I'm feeling the energy. This is the opposite of hostile takeover and coups. This is good vibrations. But I can't wait to hear your story, and I'm actually going to let you jump in here and start talking because I know that, first of all, if my browser wasn't sticking so much, I could go a little faster with this segment. But I do remember reading your profile, which is now popped up. You majored in financing in college. And I'm just curious. I always like going back in time because I know all the things that inspired me. And I wanted to do a billion other things in life too, which is probably why I'm a good fit to do this show. But I I know that like anything math or finance related is not my thing because I'm horrible at math. So were you always like good at math? Did you know that you wanted to do something with money, financing? Did anything else inspire you growing up?
Yes, so many things inspired me. You inspire me, Mark.
I appreciate
So,
that.
I grew up in Sweden on a farm. My first thing that I wanted to be was a farmer. And then I wanted to be something else. And then I wanted to be something else. And I ended up in the hospitality industry. I was working in hotels all over the world. And then one day I said, I want to move to New York. So I moved to New York and I went back to school. And I went back to take my undergrad in finance. And I was 29 at the time. And so I had already a big working experience before that. I wanted to work on Wall Street. That was my ultimate goal at that time in my life. And so because I was 29, I said, well, I need to find an internship right away. So I found an internship while I was still my first year in school, so I hadn't even taken Finance 101. I took my undergrad, and because I was kind of old for going back to school, and because I already had a job, I thought to myself, well, why don't I try to squeeze this in and take my MBA as well? I took a statistics course, and the statistics teacher said to me, he said, you are really good at statistics. And I said, you know how it works? If someone said you're really good at something, then you're like, okay, maybe I am. So since then, I've done most of my work and most of the basis of everything I do, both when I worked on Wall Street for over 20 years and now in co-op and conduct consulting, is because of data, statistics and data. So on Wall Street, I was a business analyst. Now, back to your question about math. Math came easy to me. So you said that math was never your thing. I think that math is one of those things that either it comes easy to you or it doesn't. And between my first grade and when I finished high school in Sweden, I never did any homework in math because I could finish all the problems in class because it was a little fast and easy. So anyways, so on Wall Street, I was a general business analyst. What that means is that you can be an analyst, a buy-side analyst. You can be an analyst in a very specialized, so you can be a retail analyst. And then all you evaluate all day long are all the retailers, and you know them very in depth. Or you can be a general analyst, which means that I was following the retail space one day and I was following the energy space the next day. So I had a very general knowledge of many, many industries. I have a business sense. So one day, so my husband and I, Mark Foley and I, we own a co-op. And Mark, where are you located?
I am located in sunny Florida.
You are in Florida. So in Florida, you have condos, HOAs, community associations, etc. And they all operate the same way. They might be an apartment building where it's a condo or a co-op in New York. or it's an HOA or community association if it's houses. Typically, it doesn't really have to be, but yeah, they work similarly. So we owned a co-op. We still own a co-op, and we thought that the board was doing not a very good job. But we also realized, and a co-op board is a few of the owners in whatever community that is. They were elected by the rest of the owners in the community to represent them and make all the big decisions. So if you live in an HOA in Florida, then it's to pave the roads or to fix the pond or the golf course. If it's an apartment building, then it's the elevator on the roof, right, or the balconies. So the board, we thought they were doing a terrible job. We realized that they were 7 people on the board at the time, that if we were just one person running for the board, we wouldn't have any say. So we had to have majority, hence the coup. So we said, okay, we need 4 people so that our group of people, have the majority and can actually get stuff done. And that's the business side of me, right? Who said. And so we organized a coup. And it's funny that you say about hostile takeover and coups, because sometimes when I chat with ChatGPT or Claude, they said, oh, you shouldn't use, this is a nicer word. I said, yes, but people always like when I say coup.
Yeah,
People giggle.
I mean, certain imagery enters your mind when you think of coups and hostile takeovers. I'm like, I am positive that it's not what it sounds like in my mind, but it makes for a great intro and an interesting topic of conversation. You can go ahead and continue.
Yeah. So we organized the code. There were some disagreements. The annual meeting was not a very friendly basis, but we won. And all 4 the new board members were elected. But you can only be 1 board member from each apartment. So I'm not on the board. My husband, Marc Foley, is. So he thought that he was more diplomatic than me. That's his words. The new board, they asked me if I could use my analytical skills. So I did what I exactly knew from Wall Street, which is go out, get financial statements from other buildings and analyze the industry. So I analyzed the industry. We were able to identify our building savings of $340,000 in the first 3 years. That is 10% of our annual operating expenses. It's millions by now, but we stopped counting because after $340,000, I was out networking. And instead of introducing myself as a financial advisor, I introduced myself as I helped my co-op save $340,000. And all of these people said, oh, can I introduce you to my board? And I said, sure. And that's how we started our business over 12 years ago now. We turned 12 in February of this year. So we're on our 13th year. And so now we're doing exactly the same plus a bunch of stuff for other boards. And if you think about it, so what we realized, so boards of volunteers. Now in Florida, they're retired, or many of them are retired, which means that they have a little bit more time. In New York, they're busy professionals. And I'm generalizing, of course. They're busy professionals. They have a full-time job. They have hobbies. They have family. They want to play golf like everybody else, right? So they don't have time or the technical knowledge of how buildings run. So they rely on their property manager, but the property manager has too many buildings, and they often don't have time to provide the support that the board needs in an aging, when the buildings in New York are aging. So New York's biggest building boom was between 1930 and 1960. And those buildings are old. They have leaks, they have elevator outages, they have brick falling off their facades. exaggerating a little bit, but they have bricks that need to be safe. And lots of vendor contracts and that maybe haven't had time to be renegotiated because they're taking care of their leaks. So there's this disconnect. There's like this in between here, and all of these problems need to be solved. And that is similarly to EY or PwC, who solve processes and efficiencies for large corporations. We solve exactly that same problems, but for co-op and condo boards in New York City.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing. That is a remarkable story. I know that just looking at your history, this was not just something where, at least this is just my perception. You can totally call me out, but this seems to me like this was something that you weren't just like, oh, this is going on, and we successfully uh, made headway on this. Why not start a business? You had experience in the entrepreneurial space prior to this, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. The first financial firm that I started working for, it was a bunch of young Wall Street professional guys who said one day they left a big bank and they said, "Oh, we need to start our own firm. Why are we sharing our money with them? Let's start our own firm." So they started their own firm, but they were not. Their strength was investing as opposed to running a business. So I was, even if I was never a partner there, I still helped setting up the firm in a way. And then I got the opportunity to start my own investment advisory firm together with my husband. So we did that after 10 years at my first firm.
And it looks to me like the Folson group is your main focus these days, just from what I can see. Um, what could you learn? I mean, it has to be helpful to have already forayed into entrepreneurship, and you got to learn a lot. You got to make mistakes. You got to have your wins, and especially something like this where you develop like a real passion. I feel like not only was this out of passion for yourself and your community, but it was also like, hey, this was a real moment in my life. I think that I can really like go and help others. And I'd be interested in just knowing what you took with you into this. Like, did you find it a real advantage, especially for something that you're so passionate about, to have had previous entrepreneurial experience going into this?
Yes, I think that my entrepreneurial spirit has been very helpful. And we have had so many mistakes. We have had, so it's not like, not with our clients, but with marketing, with thinking that this is what they want or defining what it is that they want. Just because we wanted to reduce our expenses doesn't mean that anyone else wants to reduce their expenses, right? So it's really been developing our service offering and what it is that boards need and why. So for instance, we started with cost reduction services only. It's on contingency basis. So if we can't find any savings, which has never happened yet, then it doesn't cost them anything. They only pay for a specific cost reduction that we implement once it's done. Okay. So we thought that was something that was very needed. And it probably is. But after a little bit, we started our project management service. That's where we act as an owner's rep for repair projects. So leak repairs or roof replacements or something like this, elevator replacement, boiler replacements. So for our project management services, very often it's more urgent, whereas the cost reduction is not urgent. So if we speak with a board, we're introduced to a board, we're typically introduced by one of the owners, because the owner says, well, why wouldn't the board hire you? It's on contingency basis, so I'll make the intro. But then when we speak with the boards, they say, well, we have leaks. That's much more urgent, right? So the whole what it is that they really need and why has become it took a long time to refine, should I say. And it's still a work in progress. Another area is that sorry, Mark, I
No, you're
interrupted
good.
you.
You're
Another
good.
area is that very often they feel that they don't feel supported by their property manager. So that has become one of our services. We have a turnkey property management search service. And that was only because there were so many boards that we spoke with, and they said, well, our property manager is not doing what they promised to do. So we developed this service, and that is also something that boards very often feel very passionate about, that it's a very urgent item.
Well, you mentioned earlier, you asked me where I lived, and you made the connection between New York and Florida, which I'm not from New York, but my wife is, and I think that she probably sees a lot more of this the way you do than I do, and she would probably be the better person to host this episode actually, the more that we're talking. But just kind of taking what I've learned in Florida because we're renting, we're still kind of like feeling things out. We've been down here for like 4 years, so we've had to deal with the home rental situation of like HOAs and property management. This is all stuff that's just way new to me. And you talked about the roles that you and your husband play, and she's definitely like that more diplomatic person. I think her, not only her role in her career, but just her experience with a lot of this stuff. Because I just had an incident today dealing with the HVAC unit, which has been a headache every year. So we've lived in 3 different properties, and they should have paid me at the last property we lived at because I was literally sucking up water that was leaking out of our unit and dumping it like literally almost every day. Not to use the word literally too much, but it's like a lot of these kind of headaches are things that I've had to deal with, that we've dealt with, and it sounds, I mean, I'm not going to do the same thing that you did because frankly, I don't know where anything is going with our life. I'm happy enough, but um, it almost sounds like there's a lot of like links and similarities because you keep talking about property manager, and I'm not here to criticize any property manager. I wouldn't even know their name or whatever, but um just weird things come up that are just like out of your control that should be in your control. Like I think the last property we lived at, they like just called us up one day right before our lease was ready to renew, and they were like, you gotta move out, we're selling the house. And it's like, Well, we like living here. Can we buy the house? No. Well, why not? You know, that's enough for me to want to do a hostile takeover and run a coup. And I don't know if any of these things are relevant to some of the issues that you deal with, but yeah, just as I'm listening to you talk, it's just making me think about this stuff. So,
Yeah.
what say you on some of this stuff?
Yeah, what say I? Well, 66 million Americans live in some form of HOA. So it's quite a large percentage of our population. So it affects a lot of people. And it's very interesting because I spoke with someone who's from Madison, Wisconsin the other day, and she lives in an HOA. So it just affects so many people. And it just happens to be called a co-op, or the majority of them in New York are called co-ops. But it's a tricky situation because the boards really don't have the support that they need. And then very often the property manager has been there for a long time, or they inherited the property manager, or the property manager has gotten used to, well, they renew every year. And yeah, so there are many different aspects of problems. And there's always been a lot of consultants and a lot of need in our industry, but there are consultants who are very specific to certain areas. So like we have in 2019 they passed an energy law in New York, or a series of energy laws in New York City. And those energy laws are very, very costly. So all of a sudden there was going to be a lot of money in that industry. So all of a sudden everybody was an energy consultant. But it's very specific. So because we are generalists and we provide much more support to the board, more strategic support. So we have strategic advisory, for instance. So if they just want a limited package to get like strategic support, we do that too. And so that's where something like that would come up. But yeah, no, but we consult with the board, so not with the residents. And but I'm not surprised that you felt unheard when they just wanted to sell your apartment. In New York, I think if you rent it out, I'm not into rentals, it's not my specialty at all, but you have to send out a renewal lease or cancellation lease 90 days before, I believe it is. You can't just, but if you live in an individual house, what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so you have a lease. What are you going to do? You're going to go to court? I mean, what are you going to do? They throw you
Well,
out. They throw you out.
Well, the thing about going on this adventure, because my wife, for a variety of reasons, wanted to make this move. We had a home in Maryland. I was very happy. We didn't just buy the house; we built it. So a lot of my heart kind of like was left in Maryland when we decided to do this, and this is like a whole new world to me, like HOAs and all of that. Because one of the properties we moved into, I guess, the previous tenant had issues. I don't even remember what the issues were, but they were just like, well, these people are here now, so we're going to address their violations to these new people, and they have to deal with the violations. And it's like, for me, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What's this? Like, you're giving me a violation? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. So it's been a lot of learning experiences like that. And I can at least say that as time is going on, I'm like becoming more comfortable with it. And that's what happens, I guess, when you learn and you're in a system and an environment long enough. But yeah, the rules and the intricacies of the HOA and all that stuff is very interesting, and it can be harsh.
Yes, it can. But having the understanding that the board, they're all volunteers, they're doing this on their spare time, might give you a little bit more empathy that it's not really their expertise. They're doing the best that they can. It might not be good enough. It may be, but it gives a different set of insights. I mean, we were just pointing fingers. You know how you go to a restaurant and you're like, yeah, they could have they could have done this a little better, or they could have done that a little better, right? Or faster, or why didn't they do it this way? Well, it's easy to point fingers when you don't really have an understanding of what it entails to do what they do. And that's how, in my case, when we overthrew the board, we had no idea. We were pointing fingers. Turns out we were right. But we didn't really know that. But then we learned that the hard way. And here we are. 15 years later. We're going to the annual meeting today. So it was actually 15 days ago we organized the coup. Yes.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on the anniversary and all of your success. And that's actually something, this is a great segue, because you're working with people to help them to accomplish similar goals as you accomplished that you're celebrating. Do you find the clients? Do they find you? How do the relationships get established, and how do you help them to do this in a way that is on a level that does not require pitchforks or anything that's literally hostile or literally a coup?
And pitchforks is always welcome. So normally we're introduced to the board by a co-op or condo owner. I mean, my husband and I are out talking about co-ops and condos all day long. So if we ever meet someone who doesn't know that we do something other than real estate in the co-op and condo space, then I don't know. I think that they all know. Okay. So we're networking a lot. We're talking a lot. I'm obviously on podcasts a lot. And we're all over LinkedIn. We're all over social media. We're in all the AI tools that are available. And we always, whenever we have a client who has a separate need, we always try to figure out how we can solve that need. And in all of this, we're typically introduced by co-op or condo owners to their boards. And then when we speak with the board, then it's up to the board. And we work with the boards. They do not... here's another one. So I wrote a book called Living the High Life. I brought it here today. I brought the book, Living the High Life. It's available on Amazon. And the reason I did, because it tells the story of how we started and the importance of not running as one person, but you need to run as a team, as a whole block, so that you have majority. And it also talks about how to best get to know your neighbors and how to position yourself, how to find the strength in the people that are in the building who is also running for the board with you. So it's basically a blueprint based on our story. And very often we have an owner like yourself who calls me and says, oh, our board is terrible. What do I do? I said, you need to run for the board. And they said, but I don't know how to do that. So they get my book. And 1 year later, they call me and they say, oh, you're never going to believe it. We took over the board. Yeah. And now they're on the board, and now they don't know what to do. So therefore, they need to engage our services in some kind of capacity, and we help them guide. Yeah.
Well, speaking of we, another part of your story that is a little more unique than a lot of other stories I have on this show is that you're working with your spouse. Tell me a bit about that experience and how that has affected your uh, relationship. I mean, not looking for anything scandalous or looking to pry or anything. I just find it real interesting because I don't think that a lot of people can do that successfully, and it looks like you two are doing it successfully.
I think so. So it's kind of difficult to start because if you think about it, you know your spouse in a certain way, but you don't know if you work at two different corporations, you don't know how they are to work with firsthand, right? Um so I think that we just are very complementary in all aspects in our personal life as well in our business life. Um, it, think about it. It cuts out a lot of BS. No, you can't complain about the boss, right? So there's no cooling water cooler tower talk about complaining about anybody. I mean, it's all business. And then you have all the times. So when you come home from corporate work, you come home and you say to your spouse, you say, "Oh, these people are idiots, and this person is not doing what they should be doing, and I'm sick and tired of this person always calling out sick, and then I have to do everything." So you have all of these complaints, and your spouse says, "I don't want to listen to this stuff." Well, all of it is cut out, right? And now you're not talking about you might still be complaining about that your business is not growing or not heading the right, but you're both talking about the same company as opposed to two separate companies. So it really creates a lot of alignment. Now, obviously, you have to like your spouse. If you don't like your spouse, it's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and think about it also. We can go for a romantic dinner or breakfast, and we go for brunch, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden I say, "Mark, I have this brilliant idea. This is what we have to do." I can do that right there and then. I don't have to wait until Monday morning when I have to write a memo. So it just really becomes very productive.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, when I listen to you talk, I try to imagine what it would be like if my wife and I teamed up like that. And on one hand, I feel like we would butt heads a little bit, but on the other hand, I feel like it would go like a lot better than I think either one of us might expect. I don't want to speak for her, but um, I
And
just know,
and I
yeah,
think that it would, if you think about it. So there are some people who want to change their spouse. I've never figured that one out. So they like someone and they want to be with them, but they want to change them. That's not me. So we have a relationship where we have strengths and flaws like everybody else, and we accept them the way that they are. And I think that as long as you have that type of relationship, I think that working together would work very, very nicely. And we didn't say, "I'm going to work on the numbers and I'm going to work on these things and I'm going to work on marketing." I never in my life thought that I would be working on marketing, and "You're going to work on these things." We didn't do that. It kind of just naturally evolved. And then whenever we have like following up and emails and sending out this and doing that and working with our assistants, so we have a team now. working with them. I am much closer with them than he is, but he goes out and he talks to someone, and all of a sudden we have a new client. So I'm not quite.
You said
Yeah, not.
something very important there because when you become an entrepreneur and you commit and you really, especially when you find a passion like both of us have, you're going to find yourself at least trying on some hats that you never thought you would ever try. But you do. And I know that mostly, if not everybody that I've had on this show, we all kind of have that same, like, resourceful, hard to describe, like, trait in our DNA that just pushes us to do what we are doing. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, you have a thought. Go ahead.
Yes, and on that note, I'm thinking about, so someone told me, "Oh, I just hire someone to do that stuff." Let's say social media postings, for instance, or writing social media posts. I hire someone to do that, and that is great. But I feel if you're gonna have as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, if you're gonna have an understanding of what it entails to do that, you kind of have to try it first yourself. I mean, it could be in collaboration, but if you don't know what goes into doing that one thing, how are you ever going to know how many hours they're going to spend on that, or how difficult it is when I go back and I say, "Would you mind doing this little edit here?" Well, if I don't know how much work it goes into doing an edit, then it's kind of difficult. And then, yeah, so I kind of feel that as a business owner or an entrepreneur, you need to, just like you said, wear many hats, and you need to have a basic understanding of how all the different aspects of the business works.
I totally agree with you. You are spot on because I know just from doing this show and just from all the ideas I'm kicking around and trying to sort out because I want to grow and do a little bit more over the course of time. I'm the kind of person who likes to kick back and try things out first. So there's a lot that I troubleshoot and try out before I actually do it. And I actually know that we're getting a little short on time for you and would love to continue the conversation, especially with somebody who says they are also a stand-up in New York City. And you're also from Sweden, which I'm a huge ABBA fan. I'm sure 9 out of 10 conversations you can't avoid ABBA. I'm sure, among probably other things that
Uh,
Sweden is known
I'm
for.
gonna I'm gonna send you my stand-up comedy clip.
I would love that. Yeah. Well, why don't I be a good host and give you the opportunity to tell everybody how we can find you, how we can work with you, and anything else you want to add.
So you can find me on www.thefolsongroup.com. That's the easiest place to find me. Our phone number, our email contact information is all there. And if you are on your HOA, condo, or co-op board, I welcome a conversation for any reason at any time. We want to support you. We're here for you. And if you're a co-op or condo owner, you reach out to, maybe you want to get on the board, and I can help with that too.
Well, Tina, thank you for dropping in and shedding light on something that I know is definitely new and different in the world of entrepreneurship. I think it's amazing how your life and career have evolved. And I wish you and your husband all the best in the future.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for having me on Mark Your Words. And good luck with you and your wife, too. I am curious if you start a business together.
Well, I don't know about that because I feel like I'm the one with the most time to toy around with as far as starting businesses and concocting ideas and all of that. But you never know; it could happen someday. But for now, I am your host, Mark Schmidt. You just listen to Mark My Words. Thanks again to Tina Larsson for being here. And I will see you soon with another episode. Bye for now. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to go on a journey with me into entrepreneurship and life on Mark My Words. If you would like to learn more about me and the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt or connect with me on Instagram at Nimrod79. Video episodes of Mark My Words, as well as other content, can also be found on the Mark My Words YouTube page. Entrepreneurship can be quite the roller coaster ride. It can be a bit isolating and intimidating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's meet here next time at the crossroads on another episode of Mark My Words.